All right. Once again, this is the Latter-day Saints podcast. I'm Brandon Lawrence, joined by Brendan Murphy. And today I'm really excited to greet our guest. She's one of the most notorious players who've ever played. She's one of the few people who actually coined their own nickname, and it actually stuck. She was one challenge away from potentially winning the game and unseating one of the greatest winners of all time. She recently started raising awareness to the floods that are occurring in Cagayan and the aid that's needed there. Brendan just kind of cheesily told me we had a 0% chance of getting her on our podcast, which I'm sure she's never heard before. I'm sure she's never heard that before. And that is the great Kass. How are you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me, and thanks for donating to this great cause to help the Cagayan Valley in the Philippines.
Of course. So
thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's really awesome that you're donating your time for this sort of thing. So I'm an ER doc by trade. So like when I see this sort of kind of natural disaster stuff, I feel so, for the desperation that's out there and how tough it's going to be on the medical systems and the rebuilding and all that, sort of situation. So I'm happy to donate for that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a very remote area to begin with, still a developing area. So to have them devastated, what infrastructure they have is just awful. So.
Yeah. I haven't kept up with it since maybe a few weeks ago. It's really kind of dropped out of the news. Is there what's happening there now?
I don't know what's happening there now. I just saw that and thought, well, it's a link to my life and something I've done. And it's something where fans get a chance to help out a show and a location that we visited once and probably won't go back to.
Yeah. So speaking of the fans, so Survivor season 28, it's one of our favorites, me and Brendan, but now it's on Netflix. How is this? Are you kind of blowing up on Twitter and social media with all these new fans that are now watching Survivor for the first time or the first time again, and since stopping years ago?
Well, it's interesting because there's a whole new group of people watching, and I'm finding that the new demographic is much younger. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's because of quarantine or people who maybe watched it when they were kids at home. They saw it on and said, "Oh, I'll check this out because I'm bored." But I'm seeing a lot of 20-somethings reaching out or talking to me. So that's interesting. And then, of course, there's a resurgence. I'm kind of out of it. I'm not one of the people who kind of hangs on to the Survivor world with a death grip or anything. I didn't even know it was coming on Netflix until I believe one of my students informed me, because I teach at Texas Tech University. And I do occasionally have students who recognize me or are potentially super fans, and that's always very exciting for them.
Yeah.
And then disappointing. Yeah, it's always awkward.
So one of the things I always thought was interesting is I feel like women, for the most part, that play the kind of game you played, at least in Cagayan, were so much more villainized. Whereas you really weren't that dissimilar from Tony, kind of flipping and doing your own chaotic thing. And he was this hero the way he was portrayed, but you were so deeply villainized that I'm sure you received all sorts of hate mail, but I was a huge fan.
Oh, well, thank you. I think I'm very polarizing because first of all, being the 40-something mom, I'm supposed to play a certain way, right? And be nice and, wash everyone's underwear or whatever the mom's expected to do out there. And I mean, I am a mom in real life, but I'm not anybody's mom on Survivor.
Right.
To me, they're all people trying to steal $1 million from me.
So speaking of your kids, have they watched any of your seasons?
I just have one daughter, and she has never watched. She hates Survivor because when I first went away, she was 4 or 5 years old, and I was gone for a long time. And then she went to the second time I was on, went to the finale and got to, participate more, but she still doesn't watch and doesn't want to. And you got to think for a kid, I don't know if you guys have kids. Mm-hmm. And you're out. Yeah. I mean, when you're out with your kids, they're the center of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're out, say at Disney World with your mom and people keep coming up wanting to take pictures or do things, it takes the attention away from the kid. So she has not watched. We have seen the start on Netflix a couple times recently where it's come up, recommended. And she'll watch the first couple minutes just because I'm in the helicopter. But I mean, she's now 13, and 13-year-olds are very self-centered. So
yeah, I think it'd be really interesting though, as a 13-year-old, to watch mom kick some ass.
Yeah, she's lived with me being a villain and never comprehended it. So it's kind of a weird place for
Yeah.
her. And I respect that she has her own identity away from me being on TV. She's
Right.
actually been approached at school recently by kids who are like, "Your mom's on TV," and she's like, "Yeah, whatever." And, so
Your mom's a new Netflix star.
yeah, it's pretty funny. So
So is your daughter more chaos or more kumbaya?
she is chill. She's an introvert.
She's kumbaya.
And she's like, I don't want any attention from anybody. She's a bass player. So
So is my brother. That's awesome.
if you know the personalities of bass players, they're never the front people. They just want to chill and vibe. And that's exactly who my kid is.
That's
You
so
love
cool.
it.
So, but yeah, the Netflix thing is weird because it was a long time ago for me and I have a life.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it'd be like if one of
You filmed what, 7 or 8 years ago by now?
Yes, like 6.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you mentioned that you're a professor at Texas Tech as well. So one, I guess, what are you teaching? And two, I guess, how'd you transition from being a lawyer?
Yeah, well, I'm still a lawyer. I'm just licensed in Texas and California. My husband works in wind energy, and we relocated to Lubbock, Texas for his job. And I just happened to, our new neighbor, I know a lot about renewable energy and did a lot of law stuff there. There's a huge wind institute at Texas Tech. So they hired me to teach their wind energy law class, which is an area that I'm kind of expert in.
Talk about a niche.
It is. It's weird. And now I teach graduate classes, undergraduate. I teach engineers really about the business of renewable energy. And I've branched out now. I'm teaching at the graduate school too, to business students, because renewables are so popular right now, especially with the new administration coming in. And there's not many people who know and understand the business. So I was kind of retired and then guest lectured and then got hired. And now I'm a full-time teacher over there.
Yeah, it's a big career change. Do you love it? I mean, if you were retired to come back to full-time, you got to at least enjoy it.
Well, being a professor is such an easy gig. Like compared to running a law firm, like, being an ER doctor, you're probably on the go all the time when you're at work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I was as an attorney, but college professors, what do? Like once you have your content and you're teaching, it's kind of almost boring at times to, give the same lectures and things.
Yeah, I've kind of watched my mom go down that path. She started teaching master's level social work. And so like watching her figure out all the curriculum, it's like scrambling around all the time and figuring out what she's going to do from class to class. But I keep telling her, I'm like, well, once you have that all established, this is going to be just a breeze. So it's just exactly what you just said. That's interesting.
Yeah. And especially right now, during the pandemic, we went all online. And I actually, because I was interested in the technology, spent the prior summer recording all my lectures just to have them in the can in case anything ever came up. So when we transitioned to online,
serendipitous, jeez.
I was like, everyone was freaking out and you couldn't get the recording equipment. And here mine were all edited and perfect. So I've been able to really chill this.
Why does that not surprise me? Just being prepared for anything.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go in and record a couple little extra ones and then I'm done. So,
That's pretty awesome.
Fun times. But the Netflix thing is weird. I definitely wish we were getting some royalties because I think I can't even imagine how many people are watching on Netflix.
Yeah, it's been a huge resurgence on social media. Just the amount of new fans. It's been pretty crazy.
And with Cagayan, they just picked 2 seasons, Cagayan and Heroes Villains.
Yeah, me and Brendan have talked a lot. This is definitely our favorite non-returnee season and a top 3 of mine of all time. So it's not surprising that they picked the 2 of those. I think if they would have picked a third, it would have been Micronesia, and that would have been my favorite 3. So
I was actually reading a bit about that. Apparently, it was just because of the rights that CBS did or did not have.
Really?
Yeah, and that may be why you're not getting any royalties. So I don't know who to contact, but if I can help you, I will.
No, we don't get royalties per our contract, but there's a lot of talk, and Like, I personally believe the contract is invalid anyway. As an attorney, it's unconscionable. I mean, you basically sign. I'm pretty sure they own my kid. You know, like everything that's in there is not enforceable in a court of law, and it's just a matter of when you're a player, they kind of have you. You know, they have a grip on you if you want to play again. You know, and most people do want to play again, and they pander to Jeff and CBS to try to stay in their good graces. I give 0 at this point. I don't plan to play again. So I do, when I have some free time, contemplate breaking that contract.
I think you should band together with Eliza and just make some like buddy pick film about destroying this contract and getting royalties.
Eliza probably wants to play again, though.
No, what is she running for, Brandon? Like the Attorney General or DA? Yeah, she's running for DA. I think she's done. She's doing something like that with her life, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, but yeah, it's interesting. But anyway, so I haven't heard of your podcast, but I don't really listen to anything.
Oh, we're brand new, and we decided that we were bored in this pandemic and wanted to just have fun, and so we just decided to do this podcast, and it's been just fun to do. We've had a few of you ex players on, and we just go through the seasons, talk about our favorite things, and we give some player comparisons to pop culture. So like we just did Africa, and I compared Big Tom to Tommy Boy from the movie Tommy Boy, and yeah, so it's been fun. Frank, I compared to Dexter from Dexter. So it was, it was
not Dexter's Lab, the cartoon. Dexter from.
I think she would know.
The serial killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I said minus the sociopathy, but the flat character is there. But yeah, so we just have fun with it, and just whoever listens to it, if just our moms, whatever. But we have fun. Yeah. The thing that I found kind of interesting in looking, I always like to look at our guests, original player profiles, and you made your comparison to Sandra, and maybe demographically that makes sense, but Sandra just like took a back seat, kind of her whole first 2 times out there, where I think you really had much more of a firm grip on the game, whether jumping from alliance to alliance, but you made things happen, whereas she was always just the anyone but me, and I'll just kind of go with the flow. So I thought that was interesting. Like, how do you feel like who do you think you ended up playing more like? Because I don't think you really played like Sandra did.
Well, I mean, I wanted to play like Sandra because I feel like that's one of the better plays for the less athletic kind of older woman, is to just sit back. Unfortunately, I was on Luzon, and from the moment, I mean,
so much dysfunction.
Yeah, Garrett, Spencer, Jatia, and Tasha made a 4-pack like within moments of getting together. So I was on the outs, from day one. So that doesn't really allow you time to, play like Sandra. And I was blindsided by David's vote out. And so I kind of, now that we have a little more history and we've seen like Sarah and Tony return, and Wu and Spencer and Tasha, I took a lot of heat for Cagayan for flipping on Sarah. I received death threats from people. That's how mad people were at me for betraying these people. But some people forget that Spencer and Tasha betrayed me day 3, right? And I'm not expected to remember that. I'm not expected as a player 20 days later to be like, oh yeah, I totally trust these people and we're best friends. No, they have betrayed me before, guys. So I don't know why they didn't think I would betray them at some point. Additionally, I was on the bottom of that group of 6, being dismissed by everyone. So it is, to me, it's really weird. And then now we see Sarah come back and be an extremely dominant player. And
he was incredible.
I never trusted her, and everyone else just didn't.
Rightfully so.
And so, and then Spencer and Tasha to come back, and everybody thinks they're great, and then they get 0 votes. How likable are you in real life if you get to the end and can't?
Have you seen the journey that Spencer's been on here? Maybe the last 6 months or a year.
Yeah, I mean, his father passed, and I think it's been very difficult for Spencer. He was so young when he went out.
Right.
And
he was 23?
Like 21, I think, or 20.
He was really young.
Yeah.
And he shot from economics, student chess master to everybody's favorite player under kind of an inflated edit and an inflated perception. And it's before we went to Cambodia, I said to him, he was worried about a lot of things. And I said, look, I don't have anywhere to go but up, because people think I suck and I'm horrible and I'm this terrible person.
God, you're a good TV though.
Yeah. But I said, but you have nowhere to go but down. You're the golden child. Jeff Probst's writing you love letters. So I just told him, you have a lot more at risk personally if you're invested in the game and winning than I do. Nobody expects me to get past day 3. So anything I do in Cambodia, as long as I'm not mean to people, is fine. But
It's
Spencer,
interesting too, though, because in Cambodia, at least watching from an outside perspective, your journeys kind of mirrored each other, even though you're very different in age. The way you matured in game kind of mirrored each other. Spencer turned from this game bot into someone who was trying to be a lot more compassionate and more humanized. And you went from Chaos Kass to someone who just wanted to have fun and make the mood a lot more enjoyable.
yeah, well, I didn't have that opportunity in Cagayan to really have fun for fun's sake, because I played from the bottom the whole game. I never had anyone who was a tight ally. I was not really included. Even production, when I was voted out at the end, they said, my God, we've never had someone without any alliance make it this far. And if you knew the whole game, I played literally, I know people give Wentworth credit and Spencer and all that, but they've often had alliances. They've made moves and things, but nobody's played 38 days of just not being respected, listened to, or part of anything.
And the crazy thing is, I feel like if Wu took you, you probably would have won. Because he didn't piss anyone off, but he didn't do anything. He was like, I think you would have beat him. Where everyone's always saying like he made this $1 million mistake as if he had this in the bag, but I think you would have had it.
He wouldn't have won because he weasel Wu, right? He stole. Everyone knew he stole from production, ate food while we were going through a typhoon, and then he stole from Trish, and she was pissed.
Oh, I didn't know he did that. I heard
So
the
let's
production
dive into
thing.
this a little bit. Are there any secrets that you can tell us that may not have been known?
What was the Trish thing though?
Trish had some sort of infection in her mouth. So she, we have a med box there for like contacts, female products, or if you get hurt out there and need antibiotics.
Yeah.
And you go there alone, and there'll be like a little baggie with, my initials or whoever's initials for whatever product they're needing. And I guess Trish had some mouthwash she had been given, like antiseptic for something that was going on in her mouth. Yeah. And she caught Wu in there because we don't have a toothbrush, like doing the swish in with the stuff. And she was mad because you're only allotted enough, like for whatever, 3 days till you see medical again or whatever. So if someone goes and swigs your stuff, they intentionally don't give you extra because they don't want you sharing it. So she was livid. And like Final Tribal, a couple people spent a long time trying to question Wu for his integrity and everything, and none of that made the air.
Well, yeah, because he was supposed to be kind of like a good old boy.
Well, he's so loyal.
Favorite. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No. And I love Wu. I really love Wu. He's a really nice guy, and he didn't steal from me or anything, but the stories from the Braun tribe, they were really mad. And that flowed over.
Invited him back.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that do unscrupulous things out there. That invited back.
Yeah, Joe. Jesus.
Joey Amazing.
Yeah, what a fall from grace.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's talk about that.
I mean, in Cambodia, we called him King Joe because he was one of those people who, like, if we killed a chicken, we're going to cook it this way. I remember him being very domineering of how we were going to do everything. We're going to put up a hammock. No, it has to go Joey's way. So we called him King Joe. I would have gladly gone to the end with Joe. And I told him that in Cambodia at the merge. I was like, I'll go to the end with you. I don't care because I know everybody here thinks you're a dick. Like, not that he's like a jerk. He's a nice guy, but I don't think he realizes how much overbearing he can be. towards people.
Well, it seems like the public is starting to realize that.
Yeah. And I think it's hard for these young guys too. That's their whole identity is Survivor. Like Spencer, you think about that. His whole identity in life is tied to Survivor. He's even changed his name to his middle name to get away from it.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing.
That's what I was wondering, if it was to reset that or just kind of a reset in general, just to kind of have a new start. But yeah, if it's Survivor related, that's really sad that he had to do that.
I don't know how you can separate from it if you're that young and it's the only really big thing you've done in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, speaking of which, I think some people, regardless of age, can't separate the games out. How did you?
I'm a very compartmentalized person in terms of how I live and how I deal with things. So when I went out there, I had permission from my husband, like, don't think about us, just go and play this game. So in Cagayan, that's what I did. I just stepped out of, I mean, I haven't gone by Kass since I was like in college. I just stepped out of Cassandra mode and said, I'm Kass and I'm here and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I played every day of that game. And when I went back in Cambodia, I knew I couldn't win. You know, I didn't even want to go really. And one of my biggest regrets is not at that live vote in, just saying, Jeff, why don't you give my spot to T-Bird?
Oh,
get a chance.
T-Bird.
And, you know, she's older, probably not. And everybody knew I would play again at some point. And I thought about it and I should have done it and it was all live and everything. And that would have just saved me a lot of grief, I think, in life in terms of going to Cambodia and kind of wasting my time. But when I was out there, I knew people were out to get me. I heard my name on day one. So I knew my only play was to just be super, super nice and basically try to become invisible amongst a cast of egos as long as I could.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm glad you played. So.
Yeah. Well, I like to play to win. So
right.
It's hard to play.
It is difficult separating yourself from the family and all the pre-production stuff and all the post-production stuff, just being away for that long, knowing that like you're how hard of a road it would be to get there to win. Why did you think you just had no chance though?
Just because my reputation and then playing with so many people I had played with before, just navigating that game. Plus almost everybody had pregame alliances going in there and I had none. So like I knew people were talking and making deals and I didn't get in on that because most people didn't want to talk to me.
Gotcha.
I was going to be an easy pre-merger for everyone.
Bummer.
Yeah.
But then when we got in there, there were people who were more annoying or more, you know, trying to make a big deal. I tried to stay in the shelter with other people, not go off on, you know, with small groups, just so people knew I wasn't conniving or planning anything. And that was the only play I had there, was to just seem non-threatening. And then once I got to the merge, I was going to do whatever it took to get to the end. But
well, sounds like you went a whole lot further than you thought you would, all things considered.
I did. I actually thought I'd be spending my time in Thailand. So.
Except you were the Ponderosa Queen.
Yeah, and that's something, if you guys ever play, that you need to keep in mind is that first member of the jury is probably the most important vote you're going to have in your time.
Yeah, because they set the tone for Ponderosa, huh?
They do.
So Brandon is actually applying. Did you finish your video, Brandon?
I recorded it all. It's just a matter of getting the wife on board, which I need to stop getting her mad at me in order to do. So it's a matter of me. It's a matter of me, you know, shutting my mouth at times. But yeah, it's all recorded. I don't know if I'll ever send it out or not, but I have to have the blessing of the other.
You should send it because you apply doesn't mean you're getting on.
Oh, I know. But then like if I get like an interview or something, then it's like you didn't tell me, you know. So if I get a blessing, I'll do it first thing.
Oh,
Cass,
yeah.
I was just gonna ask, what was your casting journey like?
Mine was super easy. Well, I had applied way back when, you know, probably season 3. I was a super fan. I was in law school and we would record it on VHS because I had classes at night, Thursday nights, come home, eat my DiGiorno pizza, watch my Survivor, fall in love with Jeff Probst or Colby Donaldson or whoever. So I actually applied a couple times, like season 2 and season 3. And I got a call, I think it was season 3, from Mark Burnett Productions back then is what it was. And they called me and they said, look, we don't want you for Survivor, but we want you to come down. We got this other reality show we're putting together. We think you'd be great for. And it was the first season of The Apprentice. Oh. And I actually went down to Santa Monica, California, and went through a day of casting at Mark Burnett Productions at their office in Santa Monica. Well, I didn't ever apply for any other show. I just wanted to be on Survivor. I don't know why. It just had this allure to me. So when I got down to Santa Monica and they started talking about this Donald Trump show, and I was from California and I didn't care or know about Donald Trump not being from the East Coast, you know. Mm-hmm. Right. Back then he was kind of just this weird guy who had a lot of wives and bad hair.
Well, so, that part hasn't changed.
Yeah, so I kind of insulted him and them and basically their ideas. Just like, I don't want to go to New York and work in an office tower. That's the complete opposite of Survivor. Like, yeah, you know. And the prize was like $500,000 job for a year, sharpening pencils in Trump Tower or something. I just had no desire to do that. And so they were kind of, you know, not happy with me. And I remember the guy told me, he goes, you're never going to get on Survivor. Don't ever apply again. You don't look like what we want. Your personality isn't what we would ever want. And don't waste your time or our time with applying for Survivor. So I left and I never applied again until I was at my book club with my girlfriends and we were all talking about Survivor, and Jeff had said, go on CBS and apply. So 4 of us made a pact to go home and apply that night. Mm-hmm. And I shot my video in one shot. I just put a camera on a book and sat at my table with a little glass of wine and just said, look, you guys are probably going off the air pretty soon. The show's totally starting to suck. So I'm going to give it one last shot. And then I just told him how ruthless I was as an attorney and as a person and some deceptive things I had done. And I just talked for like 2 minutes or whatever the video was. And I submitted it, and then I sent it to my girlfriends. We all sent our videos to each other as proof that we had done so. And then 3 days later, I got a call, and I hung up on him because I thought it was my best friend messing with me.
No way.
Like, yeah, I was like, shut up, Jennifer, this isn't even funny. And then the lady texted me and said, no, this is really so-and-so from SEG, and I guess you're really like that. Give me a call. So I called her, and I think I was in LA. That was right around Thanksgiving, and I was in LA like the first week of December for the 1-week casting. Mm-hmm. They wanted a little more video of me doing things, and then a couple of phone calls, and then I went to casting finals. So it was, for me, it was really like a 2-week process of just drinking one night, making a video, not really thinking about it, like planning it or anything, and then going to LA. And the whole time I was in LA for casting, seeing all the other people just kind of treating it like, well, this is just fun to be here, but like, they're not going to pick me. Mm-hmm. And then when I made it to the last day and they took like 20 of us over to CBS, I was like, holy shit, I'm like one of the 4 old ladies. 2 of us are going to make it, you know? And then when I was leaving, because at the time I lived a few hours from Los Angeles, I had driven down, Lynn Spillman walked me out to my car and she just said, Kass, I want you on my show so bad. I want you on my show so bad. She said,
Kass, it seems like you lagged out here.
Oh. Yes, Lynn Spillman wanted you on the show so bad.
Oh yeah, Lynn Spillman just said she wanted me on the show really bad, but I wasn't fitting the stereotype that CBS asked for the older woman, and that they wouldn't like me and they wouldn't cast me because of that, but that she was going to go to bat for me. So I'm guessing Lynn's the reason I got on the show. But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, then I got on. I was supposed to be on season 27 originally, and then they called and said, changed stuff up to 28, probably because they got returnees and stuff for 27 lined up. So
Right.
they changed our date.
Cut out again.
I think so. Just have to hold tight for a minute.
I don't know what's going on.
It's okay.
Anyway.
I know you guys were never on the same tribe, but did you get to know Cliff Robinson at all?
I only knew Cliff from the finale because he actually was super, super nice to me. He came up, we were in that green room, and the Cagayan cast wasn't that nice to me, believe it or not. They were really a bunch, still bitter, even at the finale. And we were sitting there watching that Final Four challenge, and Cliff just came over and gave me this big hug, and he was just like, "Damn, girl, like you didn't give up," super nice. And he was super nice to my kid. Yeah, his wife was awesome. He was awesome at finale. So we hung out a little bit, but that was about it. For my
Wonderful
knowledge.
soul. It's kind of like this, basically what everyone says about him. Just a warm, wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Jolly giant.
Yeah.
Very tall man. Yes.
Yeah, he's like 6'10".
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember he played for the Suns for a little while. I'm a super fan of the Suns, Phoenix Suns. Well, do you got anything else, Brendan?
I'm good. I just want to say thank you, Kass. It's been a lot of fun talking to you, and just, I don't know if you like reliving your experiences, but it's fun to hear some of these stories that normally we don't.
Yeah. It's always fun with, when fans are nice, it's easy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, have you still been watching, or did like those 2 seasons kind of sour Survivor for you?
I still watch it. Winners at War really triggered me, watching Sarah and Tony, just knowing like they had pre-gamed so much before that, and nobody was targeting them. I was like, how are these idiots not splitting these two up?
Unreal. He did such a good job though, like making people think he was just a goof, which I don't. It's just crazy.
That was his third time playing though. How could people fall for that?
Well, honestly, I think Sarah contained him.
I do too. We've talked about that, me and Brendan, that she's the stabilizer.
Yeah, and he has to have a stabilizer. He had Trish and Cagayan. He had Sarah and Winners at War. He had no one in Game Changers, and he acted like a complete fool, which he's perfectly capable of doing. He's just manic, he's all in when he's on something.
Yeah.
The thing about Tony is he's a genuine guy, right? Like when you talk to him, he's like your brother that you hate, like who keeps pranking you and messing with you, but you still like him. He's that guy, like your friend that's always just doing stupid stuff, but you still tolerate him because, you're like, oh, it's just Tony.
It's just Tony, yeah.
So that's how he wins. It's personality. He's got this charisma of just being the, oh, hey, Kass, hey. So I don't really talk to Tony. I know he knows I was maybe his main foil there in Cagayan. And, but yeah, I think Winners at War triggered me for sure watching those two.
Who are you rooting for in Winners?
I already knew who won because I'm pretty good friends with Listina.
Oh, okay.
So,
but who were you pulling for when you saw the cast before you watched?
For sure, Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah, we had many talks. And
I'm a big Listina fan as well.
Yeah, we had a lot of talks, and I was like, she didn't want to go. She was worried she'd lose, and I was like, you can do it, man. All the stuff. We talked before she went on Game Changers a lot too.
I knew Wendell didn't have a chance, but I wanted him to kill it and maybe win somehow, pull a rabbit out of his hat.
Why Wendell?
I just love Wendell's personality.
He's such a cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some conversations with Wendell.
He kind of got a bad edit.
Oh, it's unfortunate because he's so incredibly nice and gracious, and he got painted as a bad guy. It was just like I couldn't believe it when I was watching it.
And it's interesting, the whole dating thing, because Michelle Michelle has dated several contestants at this point.
Michelle? No.
No.
Yeah, she has.
Not her.
Sarcasm.
Well, I'm kind of friends with Abby, so she had dated Peter Yurkowski.
Yeah.
right? And now she's dating Dean Kowalski.
No, they broke up.
Well, it has been more than a month.
Chaos Cass.
Love is fickle. That's great. But yeah, so this was. Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I was just gonna say before we go, if you want to shout out any charities that you're working with or any projects that you're working on that people can support, we'd love to hear them.
Oh no, just the Cagayan Valley. I don't like these other charities that are big corporate bullshit things.
I like
Cool.
it.
So
Cass.
that was my only one.
Well, Cass, thank you so much for giving us your time, and we went over what we were allotted. I'm sorry, but this was great.
I always go over.
Yeah, so do we.
All right. Now, are you guys with the name? Are you guys Mormon guys, or are you
No,
making
No, it's
fun
making-
of them?
just upon not making fun of Mormons either. It was just Tony and his ladder and Angelina and her ladder. We thought it'd be funny to make something to do with some funny event that happened in Survivor, and this was like the funny thing that we come up with was ladders. And then I was like, "Oh, Latter-day Saints." I actually ran the title by Tyson, who said it was totally funny and he was totally on board with it as a Mormon, So.
I just wondered. I was like, at first, I thought you guys were going to be a Mormon podcast because I didn't read it correctly, and I was like, interesting.
Still would have done it. Interesting.
Yeah, nope. But yeah, so thanks for your time, and we'll let you go.
Yeah, you guys take care.
Thanks,
Appreciate it,
Cass.
Cass.
Thanks again for donating.
Oh, of course. Bye.
All right, bye guys.
Ah, Cass.
That was fun.
The mouthwash.
I know. I want to hear so many more like backstories.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'd heard about him and another contestant taking food. I hadn't heard about mouthwash. That would piss me off too if I was.
Especially because it's like antibacterial. She actually needed it.
Yeah. So that does kind of lend credence to maybe Cass would have won that final if Wu had taken her.
I know. Everyone like you said, Wu made the $1 million mistake, but he would have lost either way, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think his probably only chance of winning was either Spencer or Trish. Or would you say Trish's mouthwash or Tasha's? I forgot what she said. I think she said Trish.
Tasha's.
Oh, was it Tasha? Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
I don't think he would have won against Spencer though, because Spencer can be very articulate.
but was he liked? I don't know.
It sounds like he wasn't hated. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right, man. Well, I will let you go. This was great.
I know
Get
we've
this
had a
posted
long
soon.
day of recording already.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You too.